I had the absolute pleasure of talking to screenwriter Hampton Fancher, who co-wrote the original Blade Runner as well as 2049, and also this new film's director, Denis Villeneuve, at this year's Comic-Con. And in those interviews, I was very keen to ask them if they viewed this film as primarily a continuation of or expansion upon the original 1982 film. And what I saw in theaters this last week certainly did align with what they told me, that being this film was, more than anything, an expansion upon the themes, the ideas, and the world that Ridley Scott brought to life back in the 80s. And right along with it, I had to ask Mr. Villeneuve what it was like for him, especially as an artist with such a distinctive voice of his own, entering that world. One that was visually and tonally so well established, to which he said it felt a bit like entering a church and feeling that any addition or alteration that he would make would feel like nothing more than graffiti. Well, I'm happy to report that Denis' additions and Hampton's expansions neither felt irreverent nor frivolous. Where this film succeeded most were in its fresh images and unique explorations of the vistas and themes explored 35 years ago. The first scene alone, which was actually an actualization of an unfilmed scene from the original film, already took us into an environment so unlike anything we'd seen in the original film. A rural farmhouse, far outside the rainy urban hell that we'd pretty much come to equate with Blade Runner. And indeed, this film throughout captured a different, though not altogether foreign, texture than its predecessor. Few directors can capture the kind of aesthetic and stunning visual layering that Ridley Scott does, and really none have been able to do it quite like he did on the original Blade Runner. As such, I was very pleased to find that Denis didn't try to. He found his own way, visually and tonally, into this world, and it really was, for most of the film, captivating to see someone else's voice and perspective tackling those environments and those themes. I've seen demonstrated in a haunting film like Arrival and a nail-biting film like Sicario, Denis' extreme patience as a storyteller, his willingness to slowly deliver and delicately unfold his narratives, which each time really did seem to allow his viewers to more fully drink in the subtleties of his actors' performances as well as the nuances of his worlds. And he very successfully maintained that approach on 2049. Denis also tried to do something different emotionally with this film, in a lot of ways crafting a narrative with a much more immediately accessible emotional core. Of course, that's not to say that there weren't some wonderful emotional beats in the original film. Some of the scenes between Rachel and Deckard, as well as, of course, the entire Tears and Rain sequence, all pack real emotional punches. Nonetheless, Villeneuve and Gosling really did craft a different kind of hero in Agent K, one that provided an alternative and often much more sympathetic point of view into this world and its inhabitants, humans and replicants alike. Unlike Deckard in the original, K really did wear his emotions and his desires much more plainly on his sleeve. Though in this film, even the ever-gruff Harrison Ford was given some rather moving beats, which weren't half bad. One visual choice in a particular scene that really did act as this wonderful paradigm of the very subtle differences between this film and the original was the return of the ever-iconic Blade Runner water ripple effect on the walls, an effect that Ridley Scott on the original film made no effort to justify. He just wanted it there to entrance and to captivate his audience, to pull them aesthetically into the mystery and complexity of his world. And indeed, there was something alluring about that undefined choice, just like the rest of his film. In the 2049 scene where that same visual returned, Villeneuve took the time to show its source and explain its appearance, perhaps feeling that justifying that movement would make for a more engaging and powerful image. And that approach really did define nearly every decision on this film. Fortunately, it rarely ever came close to being heavy-handed, Robin Wright's plot device of a character and a few other voiceover and flashbacks being the few unfortunate exceptions. Even so, the gentle, lovingly treated exploration of that world and the ideas of what it means to be human, what it means to have a physical body, what it means to have a soul, all of it really did remain captivating as presented through the Villeneuve lens. And even when the plot did take certain repetitive turns, having its lead character, for example, investigate one individual after the next, many of whom didn't do much more than confirm or deny suspicions that he already had, their performances and the director's guiding of them kept me interested. I will admit that when I first heard that a Blade Runner sequel was being made, I was almost instantly critical. Why return to a world that already seems so wonderfully established and holistically presented, and a story that felt so appropriately concluded? And now having seen 2049, I will also confess that the writers and director did take the time to find an answer and present the answer to the audience, an answer that will certainly satisfy different people to different degrees. For myself, in a kind of a funny sort of way, I actually found the value of this film as a whole very much in the same way that I saw the value of the Deckard character's role in the film. Did we, through his appearing in it, learn something more about him? Yes. Did any of those revelations just completely rock our universe or dramatically change our perception of who he was? Not so much. And did he often feel like a bit of a tacked-on addendum in certain scenes? Yeah. But did we also see a slightly different side of that man? A different angle into his soul, a different point of view into his psyche, and a different presentation of his heart? Definitely. And that, for me, made his appearance in the film worthwhile, and in a similar way, a return to the Blade Runner universe worthwhile. And as a brief aside, just hats off to this film's marketing. Bravo for once actually keeping many of the twists and turns secret from the audience, even if those revelations happened in the first scene. It was just so satisfying to really know nothing about those characters or what drove them until watching the film. And for all these reasons, I will give the film a 4 out of 5 and a heart. I would still love to know what you guys thought of the film though, so definitely comment below and let me know. Did it live up to your expectations? Was this everything that you wanted and more? Are you even a fan of the original Blade Runner? I would love to hear all about it. And finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love for you to stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.